Hello, it is I. Would you like my old, I don't know what I would be. I guess I could be a country bumpkin wizard.
You're the Pook Man.
I'm a cross where a country bumpkin woodsman got scrambled in shifting parallel universes and got mixed up, scrambled with a Tolkien character, wizard kind of guy. And this is what manifested. Oh my God. Drinking matcha latte.
Cheers.
Gosh, is it your lukewarm temperature? Raven likes hers lukewarm. I like mine piping hot.
I don't like to burn my tongue well. I already have a burning mouth.
Oh, that is good. Oh.
It is a glorious sunny day, but there's fucking snow on the ground again.
Yeah, it's like we start to almost have summer, and then it becomes winter, and then it's summer, and then winter.
Yeah.
The good thing is that the bugs are getting just slaughtered. So I don't know if that knocks them down more so that when it eventually is summer that it'll be less. I hope so.
Or worse.
But I'm just going to go with the better.
Yeah, that would be better. The fewer black flies, the better.
Mm-hmm.
We got quite a bit of work done in the forest yesterday.
Oh, that was so fun. So fun. You know, I want to share with you guys a little project that we're embarking upon. And it's kind of an as if, because there is no absolute, and that's part of the project, is in the situation we're in, and of course everyone's got their own unique situation within the larger situation, but with all the uncertainty for our situation, we thought, what is the best? This is kind of a recap on yesterday. So what is the best option, at least to kind of start working towards as a backup plan? So we thought, you know, we're going to look into the renovation of an old barn on a piece of property that we're keeping, and we had planned to keep anyways. And we just thought, well, you know what? If that barn was renovated, we could have a little place that if we needed to, we could move into, you know, take it that step further, move into for either a period of time until things become more stable, housing markets become more stable and things like that. And then, you know, and save up a down payment or something when we're ready to take that risk. So that's one option. Another option is where we just end up staying there, or another option is just to have it as a little place, retreat to come to create for ourselves. So either way, if we start on that project, it has all kinds of great opportunity. And in the case that we had originally moved out here for, things do get, I'm not going to say worse, but get more demanding for certain food security kind of situations, circumstances, and water security and air security and so on, and stress-free security. We have a place that we can be an experiment on kind of a homesteading type of vibe, but not quite as extreme maybe, and especially at our age, and as artists. So our plan is to just work towards this idea. And what I found for myself, I'll speak first, is initially the positive of this whole plan that's only at the moment been in our minds, is that I started to feel really nurtured, like a deep, good feeling. I'm not saying, just to clarify, that I'm suggesting that everyone try this, you know, move out to the bush and whatever, but I am giving the information because some people might be inspired by it to do exactly that, but other people might be just inspired by it to kind of do their own rethinking and reevaluating of their lives and their motivations and so on. It's kind of like a New Year's Eve on a grand scale. You know, you've woken up with your hangover and you're like, okay, I'm not going to do this year. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to start off with a good this. I'm going to start. It's kind of like a giant one of those, giant spring cleanup.
Well, we certainly can look at ways that we can live more sustainably. You know, there was a period of time where that was really at the forefront of our awareness. And then what happened? We just we got black pilled. That's what happened. We got black pilled. And that's, if you think the red pill is bitter, the black pill is worse. And
do you want to explain black pill? Because if you
the black
didn't
pill
know,
is
it would
like
be
when
what?
you know everything's all shit. It's all rigged. It's such a rigged, and it is rigged.
So you've come to a certain level of understanding, but not to the next. So
well,
you're
and you just you lock yourself into the prison of apathy.
of this negative.
And then you're actually part of you are actually lending energy to that very same system that you initially railed against when you were red pilled. So that's the danger of black pilling, is that you actually abdicate your responsibility as a creative being here on the planet to create we are at a precipice right now, not of destruction. It could be, but maybe it's a new golden age. A lot of people believe that, and I like to align my energy with that belief.
As soon as you said it, I felt a warm feeling. Now, others could say, oh yeah, well, that's Damon because he's so whatever. You know, he'll get pulled into anything just to feel good. Well, it's not true. I actually have a very difficult state of mind or being to convince or to get me feeling really good about something. I overthink things. You wouldn't believe it. So the fact that I got that good warm feeling, I think for me anyways, is a really good sign to my barometer, my heart meter. And I just feel like there's a lot of exciting possibilities right around the corner for way more, if you want to talk about intimacy that we've been lacking. I think there's a way more opportunity for deeper levels of intimacy to form that we don't even know about because we haven't put them to the test.
Exactly, and here we are. And you actually brought up a really good point when you were talking about how you felt in your body, because that becomes a very palpable barometer for each and every one of us. I know when I am in my divine connection. I can feel it in my body. I feel it, in my case, from the tops of my ears right up. It's like a palpable upward moving sensation that I know when I am feeling connected and I'm feeling divinely inspired, like that. And I know when I'm not there, and I know what that feels like. And it becomes a great way for each individual to find where their barometer is at. Where's your gauge right now? You know, some people feel it in their heart, and initially I started to feel it in my heart, but then and maybe it has to do with experiences that I've had in the past, that it's concentrated in up here, but that's where it is, and that's how I know. And I feel like I'm feeling it right now. And it's an amazing, it almost feels like my eyebrows are up here. You know, and my heart is uplifted and so on. When I'm out of sorts, I'm definitely not there. It's somewhere else. And so start paying attention to what you feel within your own body. When you're feeling connected, you're feeling inspired, you're passionate, where are you feeling that in your body?
And what lifted it? What caused that?
Shift even? Yeah, well, causing is...
No, but just being aware of it is
also
a good
how
thing.
we are willing to recognize and receive and acknowledge
of that reception, what caused the reception, how it received. Yeah,
because ultimately it has to come from within. It's not going to be whatever happens on the external world is going to toss me this way and that. You know, like a tumbleweed, blown this way and that.
We've learned this basic kind of exercise in many alternative therapy courses and workshops and things. One being, as you know, cranial sacral therapy. We had a lot of that kind of training where you'd start doing this sort of work where you needed to pick up energies. And for someone beginning on that road, you know, I was a great voice in my head was like, well, what am I supposed to be looking for? What am I, this new extension of myself supposedly that exists? How do I know? So they would have exercises where, in the case of cranial sacral therapy, where you have your hands at on the cranium, and you're feeling, you're sensing, and so there were a lot of exercises that people would do where they would just close their eyes and get a sense of something, and we were always told that it could come in colors, it could come in visuals, it could be completely you don't know how your, I'll say, antenna, receiving dish, satellite dish is going to work. I know when we took Stephen Buhner, his 5-day workshop in Nelson, about, 7 years ago. 2014. He had a lot of exercises also for connecting with this aspect of ourselves that, at least hypothetically speaking, for those that don't agree, we'll say hypothetically speaking, until you get proof of it or not, at least, how do you open up these senses? And he gave many examples of people who might say, oh, well, I'm not getting anything. And in that case, with Stephen Buhner, a master herbalist, he was teaching us how to communicate with plants. And that's an easy thing for many people, good open-minded people, to kind of think, well, okay, what do you mean talking to plants, right? Like, it's easy to get too literal. And clearly most of you would get it, even if you haven't had that experience, that it's a different kind of communication. And this kind of communication, just to expand for a moment off of that specific plant topic, is something that many of us believe, and many scientists believe, there are many kinds of communication happening, just like with the less healthy communications, like the radio waves and things like that, which we've become dependent upon, that aren't necessarily as good for you. But there are other levels of communication, natural ones, that always exist, whether you're picking up on them or not, that are always there. Just because you don't acknowledge them doesn't mean that they're not around. So, I could go on and on. That's a whole multiple phase topic on its own. But these things exist, these levels, layers, dimensions. Just because we're aware of a few dimensions doesn't mean other ones exist. Just because our eyes only pick up certain colors and frequencies doesn't mean that other ones don't exist. That kind of gist. So we're tuning in, tapping into we're attempting. And first stage is to acknowledge, and then to move forward is attempting to develop and tune in with other senses that we might have. And as we do that, the idea is that your world, your universe, your reality changes. There's something that doesn't change, but your perceptions change, just like someone who is blind and then someone fits them with a new set of eyes. Well, their reality is going to change. Although an aspect of reality didn't change, but their ability to perceive on another level did, which changed their whole life. So this is the kind of change that is hovering, that we are hovering on, moving into the opportunity to waken up some of our senses that we're either not aware of or haven't fully experienced. And the pressure alone of what we've just been through and are going through globally is enough on its own, which hasn't happened before, to push us into this new level of seeing. And of course, for each person and each group and each country, there's going to be differences, but there'll be similarities. And we can accompany and help each other supportively along this transitional route, which manifests on some obvious levels, like how we deal with waste or don't make waste. We have so much information at our fingertips on YouTube, permaculture, and how to grow this, how to seed that. I know I am so bad in that area, but I have so much at my fingertips to explore. And these things can become fun if they're starting to become things that would be a good thing to know. And you start to go, oh, it's not just a fantasy anymore. It would be good to know how to grow some things and to supplement what I buy at the grocery store. So these are just little topics of things that could be coming in clearer for anyone and everyone. So we're going to explore that, back to the original topic. We're going to explore that ourselves and expose daily, weekly, whatever, as we go on this journey, and what we come up against each moment, both newfound realizations and ideas, but also little sticks and spokes, things that we have to troubleshoot and move through. And hopefully it will, if not just entertain you, which is good enough, it might give you ideas for the situations where you're feeling stuck, and you're feeling, up against a wall where you don't have answers. Hopefully we can inspire you, not necessarily, as I mentioned earlier, that you have to do what we're doing, but it's an inspiration in the sense that you can think outside of the box, and that any kind of box you perceive is only your perceptions and only your limitations. So hopefully this will in turn help you shift your perspective and realize there is no box.
Except the one that you put on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a little rambling thing. I feel really excited when I think of our project. I feel really excited. I feel one of our main pillars of our project is to reduce overhead costs immensely. Like really, we have lived, Raven and I, for most of our lives, you could say living above your means, which I think almost everyone does to some degree. It's just the way our culture and society has been developed, with credit cards and emphasis on spending, and if you gotta borrow to move ahead and so on. So for us to take this, we've kind of been forced into it in the last almost 5 years being out here, but now it's a new level of exploration. And rather than lowering our costs because we had to, we're actually going to take it even further because we choose to. But we're choosing to lower our overhead. We're going to try and have absolutely no debt whatsoever. We're going to try it.
That'd be something new.
Something new. So money's coming in from something. It's not instantly, okay, which bill do we pay, or which bill do we put money towards, and so on. It'll be, okay, this is grocery money, or this is money towards some supplies for whatever. But
isn't mortgage,
it's a new approach.
Doesn't it mean death grip or something?
Mortgage means death grip, and that was a mortgage lawyer that told us that once. And I looked it up, and it was true.
Mortgage means
Mort
death.
is the death
grip.
And gauge or whatever is grip.
Yeah.
Maybe this is all an invitation.
Yeah.
Not man-made with intent of an invitation. It's a byproduct, if you want to call it that, or maybe it was the original thought and the rest is a byproduct. But maybe this is the greatest opportunity we've had en masse to make a big shift.
Yeah.
Who cares how things happen, where they came from, who's responsible? I mean, yeah, I do care. But on this level, who cares? On this level, stepping back far enough, those concerns and worries are the size of ants compared to when you were up close to them. So on this level, they're insignificant, doesn't have any effect on what we decide and what we do. Let's just move forward. And on that note, we have lots to look forward to. If we are willing to look deep within, to face our faults, hypocrisies, well, there are no faults, but to face those things we thought were faults, and to invite real change, real deep change, which means face those things you don't like about yourself and embrace them and accept them, and be willing to completely reevaluate if necessary.
Yeah.
If necessary.
Yeah. Drop them, let go.
Yeah. Let go of identities, ways, things that you've always considered yourself as. I'm not saying you have to, but be willing to. Mm-hmm. If you let go of something and it's not meant to go, it'll be there. It's that easy. But yeah, so we're going to do our thing. We're going to practice what we preach, so to speak, and give feedback along the way. And hopefully other people who might be doing something of their own they might share their experiences as well, because I think there are many experiences of people stepping outside of the box that could be shared, that could give people a much wider range of what is possible. I know I have a friend who, her and her husband, they're retiring, and they bought a little place up in Newfoundland. For them, simplifying is that they want to be on the ocean and see whales and seals in the ocean, and just live a simple life, you know, natural and not many cares. For some people that would just be too much. So there's many ways that we can shift, or invite shift at least, because I really do believe this kind of shift is not something that you can just know ahead of time. You have to kind of open yourself to reveal the deeper part of yourself. Now, when I say that, revealing the deeper part of yourself, I don't mean that it is a deeper part. I just think we have been so insulated that it has the real us has become a deeper part of us, an inside of a shell kind of us, which needs to be, and maybe that's the metamorphosis, is a now shifting and unfolding, like those little things you got for birthdays, you know, or Christmas, where you unfold something and it becomes this big round thing. Maybe it's time to unfold ourselves like a tent,
eggs
or an egg or something, and become this next something of ourselves. So our inner selves, our deeper selves, our hidden selves, our shadows will come into light and take on new form with that light.
Well, it's like that, was it a vision, a dream that you had a long time ago?
That was like 35 years ago.
Right, where we were in these kind of egg-like cocoons, you and I think there was another.
We were in like a desert environment, which in a dream, you know, could be just metaphor. Doesn't mean we're in a desert, but and we just calmly, and we just calmly, we didn't even say anything to each other. It was like a knowing that it was a time to do this, and we just kind of looked at each other, and then just almost like a yoga pose. We had our legs straight, sitting on the ground, and then we just moved forward over our legs. And when we did that, we just formed into kind of a egg-like, cocoon-like pod, and just that was the dream, vision, whatever it was. It was very interesting, and we have always looked back on that memory and wondered, you know, the meaning of it.
I think we're in it.
We're in it.
Yeah, we've been in it for a while.
You know, a question that just came to mind is, even when things seem wrong, which in a lot of ways what's going on seems, you know, it's not something we invite. It's not the funnest thing in the world. But when these things happen, why does it necessarily mean that it's not a great opportunity?
Yeah. The
opposite of what it seems. And once again, regardless of who did what and how it manifested and all that shit, there is still, I perceive, a great opportunity, and maybe an opportunity that doesn't come along that often. It could also be that. You know, maybe this is like the train has come to the station. We've been waiting at the station for, you know, ancestors waiting at the station. Now we just wait there because our ancestors waited there. And now the train's come to the station, but it's been so long that we don't even know what a train is anymore. And there's a conductor and a steward and stewardess, and they're all saying, "Come on, get on," you know, and we're all crumpled and calcified and attached to the bench at the train station, you know, kind of go, you know, like the rock people. Yeah. And they're saying, "Come on, like your ancestors told you, passed down these stories to you. Here we are. Get on the friggin' train. Get on the bus." And many of us don't want to wake up, don't want to feel the abrasiveness of the real being awake, because it is, you know, it's like cold water or a cold plunge, even on a hot day, can be, you just don't want to get in. You touch your toes and it's like, yeah. Well, that's why I think, that's one of the reasons why I think the Wim Hof exercises are great. Anything that makes you recoil like that, but is not really that harmful. And I can't think of anything better than a cold shower for that, because you don't want to do the same exercise with, say, steaming water, because it is harmful. But it is a great exercise in just conditioning yourself to be able to step into uncomfortable realms without recoiling, enough that you can question, okay, why is this recoil here? Is it necessary?
Exactly.
Play with that little tension,
Yeah.
which is not that much different, in many ways the same as the exercise we were talking about with closing your eyes and just feeling something.
And also that the actual physical experience of being jolted out of your stinking thinking, because it's that stinking think. And thank you, Pamela, for that term, because I love it. It's so relevant. We lock ourselves in. It's one of those lids that we put on. This stinking thinking. It's because it's what you believe and what you know, and it's not productive in any way. It's not creative. It's very compressive.
Well, it's like that realm in What Dreams May Come.
Yeah.
Anyone that's seen that movie way back with Robin Williams, when his wife, who had, anyways, if you know the story, she, after her suicide, was in this realm of people who commit suicide, according to this movie, and she was in this kind of insular vortex of whatever her mind made up, and in this case, she was in a real negative spiral. And Robin Williams' character of her husband, who then died in a different situation, decided, okay, now that I'm dead, I can go and look for my wife, and we can be together. And his guide said, well, the only problem is she's a suicide, so there is no hope for her. She's in this dark hell that she's created, and you can't do anything. And he said, well, screw that, I'm doing it. And he did it. That's a really extreme, dramatic, good sense, I find, of the kind of realms you can lock yourself into, completely self-imposed, even though you'll feel like it's not yourself that's doing it. And that's a good example, why it's come up is in this time period. I'm sure there are a lot of people that are in a deep, dark hell, but they don't realize that it isn't the world outside that's made it. They've sort of been co-opted or hijacked.
It's definitely the battle of the narratives, and always has been. So it's where do you align? Which narrative are you aligning with? What is your narrative? With what is your life narrative?
Yeah.
And I think this is where we're at. It's definitely a choice point.
It is, and I know myself, quite often I'll make posts and on Facebook or something with articles or YouTubes or whatever, and the way I come up with them is I have something that I'm resonating with, an energy that I'm growing with, and then I come across, whether someone shared it or I find it myself, or from sort of hopping from one stone to the next, come across it. But I don't go by Snopes. I don't go by all these different things. And over time, I've even come to find that I don't even go by a specific orientation in the news. More conservative, more liberal in their perspective, because I found that I get very unique takes and twists. Sometimes more accurate feeling from a conservative station than from a liberal station. In other cases, more accurate from a liberal, or other cases where they overlap or collide. Or another one is where just recently Bill Maher, who is clearly not conservative, who my experience always dissed anyone that and anything to do with a conservative view, is now toting the line and is saying exactly what every conservative station has been saying all along. And of course, people who haven't been listening to conservative reports have not heard this perspective. So now that Bill Maher is saying it, they're like, wow, that's a great idea. Bill Maher is a smart thinker. He's thinking for himself. Well, hold on, guys. If you were listening to all perspectives, you'd know this is not new. So this is just one example of those that stick to one polarized channel, so to speak, are getting, they're doing themselves a disservice. So when I post things from many different backgrounds, I'm doing it consciously for those of you that go, ooh, hey, look what Snopes says, or look what so-and-so says. I'm looking at a bigger picture. So I'm up from a much higher perspective and I see a bigger pattern. It's not better or worse, it's just different. And when I use it in conjunction with other levels, it gives me more information. So I'm not myopically stuck like this up to the surface and coming across something going, ooh, oh, this looks kind of good. Oh, I'll post this. And then, of course, then someone can say, oh, Damon, that's from a radical this, or that's from a whatever that, or this is Falun Gong backed this or that. Yeah, you're not going to find anyone in the world that's not going to lean this way or lean that way, and is not going to be criticized by the other team according to their different beliefs.
But what is valuable in what they're saying?
What is valuable? Also, people will send me things saying, well, this person has been discredited by this organization. That's what organizations do. They discredit each other, the other view. That's what they do all the way through history. So that's bullshit. Wake up. And I don't mean this in a rude way. Wake up. There is so much, you guys they're criticizing my posts. You're missing the point. And I just don't have the time and energy. And I won't use up the time and energy it takes to over clarify something that is like beating a dead horse. So you guys grow up just like we're all having to grow up, and start thinking for yourselves and realize, if you care to, if you open yourself enough to, you'll realize that I'm not just posting stupid things, that it is actually you in this case who are so conditioned and formed into that, atrophied mess that now that you're starting to move, you've got to go through complete physiotherapy. A nice Pilates machine would help in this case, to get yourself back stretched and limber and mobile again, and trusting your true potential. That's what it's all boiling down to nowadays, is two sides. Don't trust, you don't have a potential, you are dependent upon Big Brother kind of story. So you need this, you need that to survive, you have to have this, you cannot do without that, versus the view that we all are wondrous, sacred, magical beings that have not come close to realizing what and who we are yet. And maybe that's the point where we start to change the world. Not because we have rules and regulations, but because we want to. Because we feel something, and that feeling changes who we are and what we resonate with. And we stop becoming neighborhood Karens and policing, like little snitty, oh, you're not supposed to do that. Oh, so worried about your neighbor and what they're doing than yourself. Mm-hmm. That's what I find it feels like in a lot of cases to me. People, obviously under pressure, this comes out. The ugliness comes out.
It does.
And it's why I persist with my posts. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I'm saying this is a take. I'm resonating with something. And if you follow me over time, Raven and I, over time, you see a bigger picture than one post. If you have the patience and the desire, you don't have to, you're a free person, the desire to understand us more. And I think we have a very valuable perspective. We've lived quite a while. We've lived deeply and honestly within ourselves and our hearts, and we've worked on ourselves intensely over our lifetime. And I think that our viewpoint is quite valuable if you care to pay attention. But don't watch our posts just so that you can righteously go, ooh.
And that's okay.
Check this, check that.
That doesn't bother me if people need to do that, because then it's information for you. Because if you're getting triggered, that's information for you. And I think we probably should wrap it up at this point, because I also want to look and see if there's a correlation between addiction to fear porn and pettiness, because I definitely see that the more people buy into the fear porn, the pettier their behavior tends to be.
Yeah. It's an
even out here, which is sad, because out here is actually people out here tend to be really amazing people, and they still are amazing. but I see their pettiness with regards to outsiders coming in,
And I
you know,
get it. I get
even
it.
if these outsiders are cottagers who pay their taxes every year, and the taxes that they pay actually offset the taxes that others here have to pay, which is a lower rate. But that all goes out the window.
But isn't that always the
but-
case?
but-
Everywhere, countries, what I mean, when I remember years ago going to Jamaica, and obviously it's not as simple as that, but the similar pattern. Wherever I went in Jamaica, they begrudged the tourism, and that's, I'm saying it's the same here. There's a certain, and the begrudgment is because I depend on it but don't want to.
But that's the narrative of the division as well.
Yeah.
So that is, again, where we come back to the narrative. And is it the narrative that divides people, or the narrative where people can come together and co-create something amazing?
Yeah.
You know, you choose. And
Yeah.
on that note, let's say ciao for now.
Over and out.
Over and out. Peace out.
Stewed prunes. Well, folks, it feels like a beginning of an awesome day. And, well, if you're still with us at the end of this talk, then you're real troopers. Or you have nothing better to do than to watch us. But yeah, I'm starting to look forward to waking up, if not any other reason than to come up here and have our matcha latte with you guys and start our day that way. So we're going to get ready, have our breakfast, and walk the dogs and all that kind of starting stuff. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Ciao.